Hello and welcome to You'll Probably Agree. And today we have one movie that's really good and one that's a piece of shit. Or maybe not quite, but yes, it is. It is. This is like the
3%, man.
2020
Don't knock the 3% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I know. Someone had to get those clicks. But no, I'm just kidding. I don't think they were being a contrarian by choice because we'll get into it. But before we do, I'm going to introduce everybody. We have from we have Sajiwa Akanayake. He keeps changing his name, so I don't know what to even address him as, but he's a New York City underground indie filmmaker, not underground filmmaker. I think he has a movie coming out or that he's making now that has something to do with aliens.
It's sci-fi with spaceships.
That's right. And we have Mark, the movie man Crosscheck from Special Mark Productions. He always has some great stuff up. So, you know what? We're going to get started and let's get off the bat here. We're going to talk about two movies, War of the Worlds from 2025, starring Ice Cube. And War. Oh God, I should have brought mine. I actually have a DVD of the War of the Worlds. Is that the 2-disc DVD?
No, this is the original 1-disc DVD they released.
Oh yeah, I have a 2-discer from 2005 or 6 that had like a ton of extra features on it.
Yeah, no, this was the first release. It's not special release at all. It has like one extra on it.
All right.
I'll share a copy. Monsters.
I'll share a copy of what my disc looks like on social media later tonight. But we're comparing the 2025 War of the Worlds, which is a masterpiece, to that forgotten 2005 War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, directed by some guy named Spellberg or something. I don't know.
Some indie guy named Steven something. He did a movie about a truck chasing a car, and suddenly he got this job. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
he's the painter of light when it comes to movies.
Yeah, he's.
I don't
know.
Whenever ET gets near a flower, comes to life. That was what
it's pretty movies.
Yeah. And every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. But hey,
that's right. Anyway. Yeah. But Mark, would you like to give us a little synopsis of War of the Worlds 2025, starring Ice Cube, who basically Daniel Day-Lewis has nothing on him, and what you thought of the film?
Screen life film. Being an IT guy, I stare at enough windows. Open windows and desktops. I don't need a full movie like that, but that's what you get here. Ice Cube is playing a guy who's working for national security, and he has the most advanced system known to man for security. And let me tell you, being the IT guy, at least from what I know about cybersecurity and such, yeah, this movie's still a stretch. But he's monitoring everything, namely his kids. He's obsessed with following his kids on camera, and then terrorists as well. And but mostly following up on his kids. And then he's part of a task force trying to coordinate this hacker who's going around saying that the government has this Uber watch software that can look at anything and collect hundreds upon hundreds of millions of petabytes of data and that on every single person around, which is kind of hearkening to current events with some things, people talking about collecting data. But anyway, and so then while that's going on, aliens crash into invade Earth, but not this time around, though. It's not what you think. They want to collect our data because they feed on data. So the humans try to fight the aliens who are busy annihilating Earth for whatever reason, looking for data centers that are set up by the global governments, and they're feeding off of that. And that's why they've invaded Earth. And we see how he tries to protect his kids from his desk chair
in his empty office in the middle of the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah,
but anyway.
while he uses all the tools at his disposal to try to figure out what's going on with the aliens and defeat them, all from the safety of his office and Homeland Security, which is safe until the very end of the movie when you need that plot device in there that
the USB stick that
the-
gets rescued by an
Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
yeah, Chekhov's USB stick is what
Yeah.
it is. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's it. That's what it is. It's told from the perspective, 90% of the perspective from a desktop. And then, when we don't have Ice Cube at his desktop, you're still seeing it through security cameras. I mean, we've seen this type of film before as far as being told from windows from a desktop. We haven't seen a sci-fi action film from a computer desktop. And let me tell you, certain genres like search,
Unfriended or something like that.
well, I mean, you had those during the pandemic, but you had like search, and you had the kind of follow-up film that they did with that. And then I've got one that was an indie one that starred Sasha Grey and
Huh.
not Toby Maguire, the other one, the Frodo, Elijah Wood. It stars
okay.
Elijah Wood and Sasha Grey, and it's called Windows. And that one was interesting. So your thrillers and that work from your desktop computer angle, your sci-fi action film, yeah, not so much.
Not this one, but it can be done well, I think, by a talented team.
Well,
Yeah.
it can be done if you've got the right script. The problem is they're trying to adapt this very classic tale, which I didn't put it up. I literally have one of those vinyl records that has the original broadcast of War of the Worlds on it.
Oh, nice.
That are
from Orson Welles.
From Orson
Broadcast?
Welles.
Yeah.
The Orson
everyone
Welles
in a panic, yeah.
broadcast. I've got the vinyl record in my collection of that. I listen to every so often. The story's been adapted many times. The thing is, the changes they make to this story to help fit the gimmick that they've come up with for this movie, they could have made this any sci-fi film. This did not have to be War of the Worlds. And I think that is the biggest crux of this project that they came up with. Is I think if you call this anything else and you tweak the aliens slightly, I mean, people would watch it, but you'd chalk it up to putting it up in the pantheon of the other War of the Worlds that came out in 2005, The Asylum, H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. You patch it up to that type of film rather going, oh, you're just trying to mimic War of the Worlds, rather than actually use the name, because I think that has so much that comes with it. And especially for me being a fan of the story, that's just was wrong to do with this. I think that's part of it. Why? I mean, I'm not saying it's great to begin with. I'm saying, though, once you slap War of the Worlds on it, there's an expectation level, and that either subconsciously or consciously to come along with that. And if you change it up too much, like I did, I'm like, what's the point? You know?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
where I was at with it. I mean, I watched it and it was fine. I mean, I watched a lot of schlock in that, but it was a bit of a rough watch, only being a Windows, told from a computer screen type of story. That's a hard sell, almost as bad as found footage with me. You've got to do it just right. Otherwise, I'll just be too busy going, yeah, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Paranormal Activity did like a million sequels. It's like, no, it worked for one movie. Like same with Blair Witch, that worked for one movie, and then it became a genre, and then it was overdone. And now the whole like seeing everything on the screen genre is starting to be done by more and more filmmakers. And yeah, taking War of the Worlds felt like a last minute decision. It felt like they're like, oh, how are we going to sell this? Oh, I know, we'll make it War of the Worlds. And then how are we going to get Amazon to back it? Oh, we'll just put in as much blatant, shameless product placement as we possibly can. Yeah, and this movie would have Orson or H.G. Wells just rolling around in his grave. Like, he would be absolutely disgusted with this. I mean, it's like, yeah, interesting concept. They're trying to make it updated, but it's kind of like that thing I would have, like whenever I talk to other filmmakers or go to film school, they're like, I'm gonna make a low budget version of the movie. And it's gonna be really cool and it's really gritty. And then we see the movie, and it's like this cheap looking bullshit, which is exactly what we got with this film. And then of course
The first 10 minutes of the new War of the Worlds, if you take it as its own thing, works pretty well until the alien attack begins, right?
Right.
If they kept it light and somewhat silly, and just leaned into the fact it's a low budget experimental screen life attempt about a guy stuck in an office and an alien attack, that could have worked. And
Well,
if you want to go the other way and try to make a high quality sci-fi movie, there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that could keep things exciting, but you would have to shoot the thing entirely differently, and it would have to look good. Yeah, it would have to aspire to good cinematography and editing and effects.
and it would also have to have a good performance because this
Good
movie
script, and
is
the sense of time has to
entirely
be adjusted because, like in 5 minutes, the entire all the militaries get their act together, and you
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
it's
everything rushes up at
you
a
have to
movie's
go on
pace.
one Sunday night.
Yeah. Everything
Yeah,
rushes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just like, and it makes me wonder now that you had mentioned that, Mike, if this wasn't a last minute decision by the studio to flip this to be a War of the Worlds movie instead of either like a techno thriller where they're chasing down the hacker, which ends up being his son, or just being kind of a its own sci-fi thing. And it said, hey, because if you look at the dialogue and you look at everything going on, there's nothing in the dialogue that suggests that this is an actual War of the Worlds. The only way you really know this is a War of the Worlds movie is by the shape of the aliens
Yeah.
and some of their behavior. But if you took out, if you put any CGI effects in there, you could interchange it with something else and still have it make sense. So it makes me wonder if the idea with this script to make it a War of the Worlds was more of a last minute approach than actually intending it to be a War of the Worlds film.
Yeah, and the saddest thing is that the special effects. This was apparently, like, one of my friends told me this, and I don't know if it's true or not because I tried to research it and couldn't find anything. This was apparently made on a budget of $40 million.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's
this was
not true.
yeah, I would doubt it is true. The thing is that even with no budget, you have a guy like Gareth Edwards who made monster movies, so it's like no budget, and then he ended up directing Rogue One and all that. Here, it's like it looks like they took an asset that you would download for Premiere Pro or After Effects, and you just drop it in the project, and that would be the tripods from this movie.
Yeah.
And it just has like a very lazy look to it. Like it looks like a Sci-Fi Channel film from 2008. It's just absolutely, it's like Ed Wood levels of bad. But because this movie's so terrible, it's so fun to watch.
Also,
movie,
it seemed like a sort of a rough idea, sort of a concept video for an actual movie that you would make with a budget and
yeah, like previs, yeah.
yeah, no way this actually cost 40 million that went to actual filmmakers because I mean someone may have gotten paid 40 million for it.
Ice Cube.
It doesn't show the craftsmanship is not there.
No, what I would say that budget is for the different people who were tied to this when it first came up with the concept in 2020. Before, just as COVID hit, they had the concept. Ice Cube was on it. Who's it?
Eva
Tamir
Longoria's in it.
Right, but Tamir, I always murder his last name, but Tamir Bekmambetov, Betov, I forgot his name, but he's the guy who did Night Watch and Wanted. He was going to produce it, and then Eva Longoria, and then we got Clark Gregg in here. But you're looking at a film that was 5 years old in its concept when they first came up, And it's one of those things where I think it suffered a bit of COVID because they wanted to shoot this project and they presented the screen life aspect when COVID hit. They're like, oh, hey, we could do it this way, right?
Yeah.
And so I imagine the 40 mil is probably because it languished for so long before it was actually released. It was probably part of the budget, because I remember when the Crow finally came out, like 8 years prior to the Crow actually coming out, or 6 years prior, excuse me, to the Crow coming out, I was at the Madison Comic-Con where the creator of the Crow was at. And he talked about how they made the original Crow on like something like insane, like $10 million. You know, he had full creative control, but he made, and then the remake, before they even had shot a thing of film, was already like $20 million because of all the promised money they gave people who signed on for the film, but it never actually happened. So I'm wondering if the background for the 40 million is because they ran into either production problems or delays or something, because this does not look, this is Asylum quality. And I like my Asylum films. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really bad. That's why I love watching Asylum, because sometimes you get surprised. You're like, holy crap, this is really good. Actually, their H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds is not that bad.
Yeah,
but
I budget indie sci-fi movies, and this is a hard cost-wise an under $100,000 movie, and plus whatever millions that were promised or paid to producers and actors. But if you wanted to make a movie like this, you could make a really good one for 100,000 or less, using the elements that we see, but much better execution.
Yeah, maybe if you had a visual effects team who knew what they were doing,
A good
you actually had,
script.
yeah, you actually have like a real structure and a script and things that make sense,
A good
you know,
direction.
and of course, yeah, good direction. And I mean, the main thing is this movie's so heavily reliant on one performance, and you give it to some rapper who can't act at all. You know, it's a lot like when athletes try to act in movies.
Well, if he
They
had a
don't
good
do it.
script and directions, I think he could have done it. Also,
Yeah,
this is
go
a
ahead.
sci-fi action movie, so you don't really need great acting skills. You can set things up so things happen fast.
Yeah, but the structure of the film is like it's all reliant on his reactions and
Yeah, it
his
would have
acting
to
that
be
require
shot
nuance.
differently.
Yeah.
Ice
So, yeah.
Ice Cube is a talented actor in the right role. I've loved a lot of his performances. I think he is a really good actor. He does need the right director and the right part. This was not the right part for him.
Yeah, we saw too much of him.
Just his type of acting, his approach to acting, and some of the other characters that seem to fit really well for him that I've just really enjoyed are not this behind a chair. If he was the guy out in the field going after aliens or whatnot, I could see, but being the guy in the chair is not, and mad props for him trying. It's just, this part was not written well, but it was definitely not written for someone with his acting talents. He has, you know, we all know it. Actors, you see actors, certain actors have more strengths than others when it just comes to style of acting. I mean, you know, and so Daniel Day-Lewis is not going to be a John Wick. Okay, he's just not. He could probably do it okay, but you know what I mean. But Daniel Day-Lewis, or say a character actor, would have been far more fitting for this 2025 War of the Worlds, because, or even a theatrical actor, like someone from the stage.
Yeah, someone who's overdoing it could work.
You need a stage person who can do the pantomiming, who can do the emotion through your face, because you're just staring at him for the most part. So he needs to have emote a lot of emotion, and you'll get that from a stage performer far better than you will from his skill set.
So I thought of a few ways to improve the movie. If they shot it, if the story was they're making a documentary about this guy's work, right? And they had a camera in his office that shows him working, so we get another shot besides what we see through the screen. That's one thing. And also to establish the world prior to the invention. I mean, prior to the invasion, we should show a normal day quickly. Him interacting with the president. I mean, a lot of crazy things show up in this world, like him being able to get a hold of the president on a Sunday night super fast, right? I mean, that's just
And then there's a guy they call on a webcam who's just like on a golf course.
right.
And that's where he is like throughout the whole. It's like, wait a minute, shouldn't this guy be leaving there right now, especially when there's an attack going on?
Yeah. So the setting up the world was not done properly.
Right.
Also, I use stock footage for the current movies that I'm making. There are really high quality, almost 35 millimeter cinematic looking 4K stock footage of spaceships, aliens, the natural world, explosions. I mean, even though their gimmick is trying to make it as real as possible, if you're going to do an hour and a half long movie, it has to look better. So they could have used much higher quality stock footage and put this together. I mean, there is some possibility to make this kind of a movie really good, but you would need to approach it like making a normal movie and then adjust it for the extra amount of time we'll be looking directly at the main character.
Right. Well, the story drifts too much. It's really weird. And this is what threw me off too, is for the first chunk of this, we're doing screen life, we're doing from his, I'm like, okay, this is how we're going to go. Okay. And then there's parts of this where they expand the scope where you're not by his screen. You're getting some other It's like, okay, either keep it ship in a bottle contained to his world, and we're only seeing events happening from his perspective, or go the other route. But it tried to do both in presenting scope, and I think that was some of the mistake on here, is that we do drift away from him, not often, but just enough to like go to a news report or something, and it's like the special effects could have looked better by them dirtying them a little bit, because you are doing this from a computer screen. They didn't need to be really sharp. They could have had a little bit of either interlacing or something with them to cover it up, because there are some shots where that CGI just was not good, especially when you get the drone.
There's no great visual strategy. There's no color grade. There's no unique look. If it had it, just like the first War of the Worlds, people would buy this stuff better. It wouldn't be so jarring. Yeah. So just lack of filmmaking, skill and awareness.
Well, and there's also the problem that we brought up with structure and characters that don't quite work, because we're supposed to be rooting for this main character played by Ice Cube. But the problem is he's spying on his kids. He's even like putting cameras in their refrigerators.
Yeah, one good way around it would have been if he was disciplined for doing that earlier in the pre-invasion world, and he hasn't done it. But when the invasion happens, he goes back to it just to check out his family.
And then there's just that whole scene where the daughter's telling him how he can't let go of her, but she's telling him this while she's in a car going to labor, and it's like this. And he even says, is this the right time? And he's like, yeah, let's talk about it now. And she's like, okay. And then she starts getting into it. I'm like, this wouldn't happen. I think she'd be in too much pain to articulate what's going on. Well, and also, when we talk about the plot holes, how is he controlling a Tesla through his computer? But
that you can do. Yeah, that's
really?
Actually.
Oh my god! You live in the future.
No, you live in the future. Trust me. I being in IT, I have to know some cybersecurity. I mean, it's hard, but if someone really wanted to, they could hack into the self-driving computers. They could hack into other computers, and that there's been people who have driven by where you do have computer chips where they were able to hack into a computer next to them in a car because of either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatnot. I mean, it is possible. The tech stuff, like I said, some of the tech stuff made sense. I'm like, okay, some of it was like yeah, okay, now you're reaching with this. But even still, he doesn't just do it with the daughter, though. He does it with the son.
Yeah.
It's like there's literally aliens annihilating cities, and like, Dad, I need to talk to you. It's like,
Yeah.
not now, son. No, but Dad, I really need to talk to you. It's like, not now, son. Never mind, aliens are like taking out his friends. Even his son is just like mellow as he's like, nah, Dad, we really need to
Yeah.
talk. And I'm like, what is this going
Yeah,
on?
why isn't he panicked when the world's ending? But he knew about Goliath, so whatever. Oh
Did
yeah.
you guys see the remake of Taking of the Pelham 123 or whatever that movie
No.
is? Now that is a good setup for this kind of a thing. A lead character with a bunch of problems,
Right.
discipline issues, about to get fired, some legal issues, and it unfolds, I think, over a couple of days, but they set it up nicely. So that's what this movie could have been in the hands of good filmmakers.
Yeah, they needed to do a little bit more setup. I mean, you dive literally right into our main character, just creeping everywhere with his security footage, and it's like we don't even get to know him really. We just know this is a guy who has access to all kinds of national security tools, and that was it. And it's like, I know we don't need everything laid out, but yeah, like you said, Sujua, we need that beat. We needed that like 5 or even 10 minutes to see what a normal day and the challenges that he has with his kids and all that without the alien stuff.
Also, that could set up the amazing tech he has access to. I mean, since he works for the Department of Homeland Security, they could have set it up saying we're using a lot of unapproved experimental tech to try to get ahead of our adversaries, our enemies. So this is what it could do. So it's like Star Trek, right? If it's properly introduced, people will go with it.
Well, they could have easily taken the angle of there is Goliath. They don't give Ice Cube's character access to Goliath until the alien invasion comes, and then they go, here, go log into this thing, and suddenly he has the tools, and he's like, holy crap, the government actually does have this program Goliath, but then he's forced to use Goliath in order to try to coordinate the aliens, but he doesn't have that ability in the beginning. You're right, Sujua. They could have made this at least a bit more compelling to where he's conflicted in using this tool that supposedly doesn't exist, but it does now in order to defeat the aliens and protect his kids.
Yeah.
And I think the events took place probably, I mean, if it were happening in the real world by some crazy reason, by some crazy method, probably like a week or two. So we could just have him stuck in his office for a week or two, food being delivered, maybe his house got attacked, some kind of other stuff. That would give the movie enough time to work in all these threads. They were doing way too many things, not doing it well in an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Well, that and the fact that this movie's trying to say something about surveillance and data, but it kind of gets lost with its own message, because I think it's trying to say that we shouldn't spy on everyone, but then Ice Cube, I know his character has a name. I think it's like Marcus or something.
Will Radford?
William Radford.
William Radford. Yeah.
Yeah. I should know this by now, but anyways, he uses that exact technology to put in a virus and kill the aliens, but he's going to be spying on the government who's spying on everyone else. So in the end, it all kind of gets mixed up, and you're saying, well, what were they trying to say about surveillance in the first place in this film that didn't communicate clearly?
Also, they need to establish why the aliens need to physically land. Just like this is the same problem I had with Galactus. I think that was his name. Why they need to physically land to steal data? I mean, they could, if they have the high tech to travel through space. They could steal the data from above. They don't need to physically land and attack structures.
Yeah, they don't have to physically be in the server room and put their tentacles around to drain the data.
Well, they were trying. They do try to set. Sorry, go ahead.
And a second thing is destroying physical structures would make their job much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, well, they do try to establish that they were searching the different data centers in order to find Goliath with the most amount of data, because that was completely sealed off from everything. So that's what. But you're right; they didn't have to come down because their advanced computers could have hacked into the data centers through Wi-Fi, for crying out loud, and satellites. They could have piggybacked on so many other things to get to the data and have it upload to them and even feed off of it that way. Why did it have to be physical to pull the data when those, with firewalls and whatnot? Sure, you got firewalls, but unless that it's completely actually sealed off from the physical world, with these aliens, they had to have had the tech to be able to do that. You're telling me they couldn't get around a human firewall? I mean,
Will Radford is able to do lots of things remotely, right? The space aliens should be able to steal the data remotely.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap things up on this War of the Worlds, so then we can go to the next one. But before we wrap these up, does anyone have like a favorite scene of absolute nonsensical stupidity that this movie couldn't help but give you a sense of joy at the film's inadequacies?
Well, I mean, I think one of the worst moments was when the entire world mounted a successful defense in like 5 minutes, and it was happening on a Sunday afternoon while this one guy is coordinating everything.
And they just cut the stock footage from other wars with like soldiers around, and they're like, we've all galvanized.
So at that point, it dropped the sort of the, even semi-realistic approach, sticking to sort of a timeline, a realistic timeline. So after that, it's just craziness. So I think they should have stuck with what they were trying to do in the first part of the movie. Kind of try to make it a day in the life of real time type storytelling.
Yeah, and I think their eyes were bigger than their stomach on this film. I think if they would have pared it down, still told the alien invasion story from screen life, I think that would have been best. And my favorite scene is with Greg Coulson, who literally looked like they hired him for this part, and he didn't even have to get dressed. He just literally did it from his personal gym on a phone.
Yeah.
He like read his lines to where, because he's his supervisor, and I'm like, oh, they paid him for like 2 hours to, okay, here's your phone, here's your script, and he's literally, do I need to get on a costume? Well, no, you're working out when this happens, so you're okay. And it's the concept and the ambition was there. The execution fails miserably.
The execution's not there, and you need a lot of, even to make something basic, you need a lot of filmmaking skills, as we can see. Anything that goes longer than 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minute, then audiences need filmmaking skill. I've done these 90-minute movies where it's just two people talking. It takes us like 3 months to put that together and edit, color grade, so that people don't get extremely bored and check out while it's a 90-minute movie. So this has an interesting approach, but really needs a ton of filmmaking skills to pull it off properly.
I will say I'm going to give my my favorite bad scene first, and then my rating, and then I'll ask you guys your ratings for this. But my favorite bad scene in this movie is Ice Cube is trying to get out of his office to save his daughter, and the building's on lockdown, and he like jams the door. He's like, "Ah, shit, lockdown!" And then like 2 seconds later, he releases the lockdown from his computer. And then he's running around the building, and there's no one there, although it's on lockdown. and then yeah, I would say with this movie that the most disappointing thing is that yeah, they tried to do like the on-screen live filmmaking thing, and it's just kind of like every filmmaker is trying to say something about the digital age and social media because we're living in the middle of a tectonic shift, and a lot of them don't know what to say, or they're saying the same thing. And this is just one of those movies where they had the idea, but they tried to take a novel from 1898, update it to 2025, and obviously the elements from that novel were thought about until like the last minute. And this film feels like a Frankenstein monster of a movie, is something that had an idea and completely fell apart. But I have to say, I think because it's so completely inadequate and baffling, I love it for that. It's so much fun. As a bad movie, like a so good it's bad, it's like a 4-star classic. But for a movie in and of itself, it gets one Guinness outside of 4. So sorry, I could give it 4 for pure entertainment. It's 4, but no, this movie is something that anyone could have made on their computers. So, Sajiwa, how many Guinnesses would you give this movie?
Out of what is it, 4 Guinnesses or 5 is
Yeah,
the top?
out of 4.
Out of 4, I'd give it half.
Half a Guinness. I don't have half, but I can give you 1.
Yeah, okay, one because they technically made and released a movie, but they messed up on so many levels that it's sad. It's a waste of everyone's time, and it isn't even that much fun. I mean, you could get into it, but there are
I would say
much
it's an
more
endless
fun.
well of entertainment just from Ice Cube's reactions.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the fact someone gets hit with a meteor and he's just like, oh. And then like later when he finds out his son is Goliath, he like flips out. But
So I'd give it 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 4.
okay.
I was thinking 1 or 1.5 out of, well, my scale would be 5. So with your 4 Guinnesses, it would be 1 Guinness. This is a film you can put in the background. This is a film that if you wanted to, you're not really missing much. You don't really have to watch it. You can just listen to it a bit. And again, just for the things we said, the ambitions there, it's just you have someone who's used to doing music videos, and it shows here because that's what this director's heavy experiences is music videos. And there's going from a music video to a feature is a huge leap. Should have gone to shorts for a little while first and then a feature, but to put this person from music videos into a feature and also a gimmick concept feature, that was taking too big of a risk. And nowadays, if you're going to make a tech film, if you're going to make something that involves tech, you better have a consultant. You better have an expert who helps you with the script, because you got 8-year-olds who would look at this and go, yeah, that's not how that code would work. That's not how that would work. That's not how that computer would work. Some of these filmmakers, like you said, are trying to make statements in tech, and they have no idea how it actually works. And today's day and age, if you want to make it realistic, like this film tried to, you got to have someone on set who knows how this works.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just going to lose everybody. They're like, yeah, that's just not. I mean, it's like Hackers. It's like when we watch Hackers. Hackers is a fun, ridiculous movie, but the stuff they do in there computer wise, laughable.
Well, it's like the same thing with every 90s movie or early 2000s movie about early hacking. Like whatever the one was with Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry, like they all have like the same scene.
Swordfish.
Swordfish, yeah. They're typing like really fast, and the computers are making little dinging noises as it's loading everything. And hacking isn't really like that, I mean, I don't know what it's like, but I at least know enough research where I know
No, the typing can be that, but it's what they're displaying on screen usually. I think my buddy who knows Linux, a programmer guy I know, he just loves Linux. I think one of the only accurate films we've ever watched that involved computers was The Net. The Net actually had accurate code. My buddy went through some screens once, and he's like, yeah, no, that's the code that you would write if you were trying to do what she was doing.
Oh, wow.
And like space shows, you don't really have to go the route of showing all the tech because it's
No.
fantasy, right? You could just
Mhm.
shoot this in an entirely different way and not even show all the details of the tech because we
Yeah.
don't know how exactly the warp drive works on Star Trek. But it's worked into the story in an interesting
Well,
way, so we don't really have to question it.
Yeah, and Ice Cube's right click apparently has every single option ever available to man.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. And that's the thing. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could have said this is some kind of a new AI system that invents things on the fly.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know if that would work, but I mean, you put it in the dialogue, then yeah, I guess it would make sense. But
But yeah, you don't have to show all the details. Then it becomes a problem. Then it has to be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, they
yeah.
don't show all the details in the 2005 version War of the Worlds with Steven
Mhm.
Spielberg. They don't show all the because it's being told from Tom Cruise's character's perspective. That entire movie, we do not leave him.
Mhm.
Everything that we see and happening is from him, and that makes a difference because then you don't have to expunge so much on everything. You're just seeing, but the minute you start moving away from him, well, now you got to show more, and now you're in trouble, which is what the new one did, and that's what the 2005 one did properly. Though I have issues with this film too. So.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's a good segue to get into the 2005 War of the Worlds. And man, what a breath of fresh air that was compared to the other one.
Well, yeah.
I mean, because it actually, because it's a real movie made by a competent director. B, it actually shows how an actor can really act because, Tom Cruise is in this role where, he's very much the anti Tom Cruise. It's kind of like, what if Top Gun didn't work out for Maverick? What if these characters kind of wound it up schlepping around? They're in their 40s. He's working in construction. He's kind of like a dad who's very neglectful towards his kids. And then, of course, throughout the course of the film, he learns how to be a father in a way. I mean, he doesn't quite succeed with Robbie, but, he learns how to become a father. Now, the movie has its flaws. The 2005 War of the Worlds, I don't think, like compared to War of the Worlds 2025, it's, like fucking Citizen Kane. But you look at the 2005 War of the Worlds, and the thing is, this movie's trying to be a horror film, but then it's like inserting jokes in sort of like some weird places. Although like some of the jokes kind of work, like when they're driving through the highway and Robbie's talking to Ray, and Robbie goes, "Well, these guys they're doing what?" And Ray's like, "Well, they're attacking us. They came from somewhere else." He's like, "Where? From Europe?" And he's like, "No, not like Europe." They pull the camera out. You see like the cars going everywhere. Like that's a Spielberg move anyone can do. But at the same time, it's like it wasn't as scary as it should be because the weirdest thing is John Williams' score is kind of intrusive, where it's like the movie would have been so much scarier if there was no score. Like when you see that tripod rise from the ground and then it does the horn sound, you're like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna die. This is terrifying. And the movie came in like a post 9/11 era and is very reflective of that because you have like the whole imagery of people covered in dust. And Spielberg even says in the extra features it was inspired by 9/11, and it was kind of like about how society does come together, but they also sort of tear each other apart, especially in that sequence, like when they're all outside in the diner and they have the fight over the car and someone gets shot and they try to shoot Tom Cruise. But yeah, it has throwing sequences, an intrusive score, some humor that doesn't quite work, and an ending that, although faithful to the novel, introduces a massive plot hole, as well as that whole other plot hole with the camera recording the aliens, although they get rid of all electronics, but whatever. But yeah, you have all those. So yeah, it was an okay film, not Spielberg's best, but It was probably the best adaptation of the World of the Worlds we ever got, and it's also the most different design for an even evil alien species we ever got. But what are you guys' thoughts on it?
I thought the movie when I first saw it, and I've seen it many times, that would be like a 4 out of 5, Guinnesses compared to the 2025 War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Now, after rewatching it, I was moved to go watch uh, Edge of Tomorrow because I thought Tom Cruise was a little bit not doing a great job as that type of a character because
Mhm.
he looked too young. He looked too much like a movie star, and he, compared to Edge of Tomorrow, he looked like he knew he was acting, and there was a little bit of a delay between. I mean, it was kind of like theater, right? There were some moments where I see Tom Cruise knows he's acting, and this is a movie, right? Whereas Edge of Tomorrow, he really disappeared into that role. He kind of took out a lot of the Tom Cruise affectations, and as that movie went along, you could really buy into the fact, yeah, this guy is really trapped in this thing, this time that keeps resetting, and you kind of he wins sympathy from you, you know it's not a performance. So, but I mean, the two movies are completely different. The 2005 War of the Worlds is a million times better.
Yeah.
The ending, I thought, yeah, they could have done a different ending. But some people have argued many wars have happened that were badly executed, like the Nazis invading Russia in winter, right? Some dumb mistakes were made, has been made by militaries. So the Martians getting defeated by Earth's germs or whatever could be one of those dumb mistakes.
Well, I mean, that's that, they were holding true to the source material of, bacteria being the thing that finally takes down these big, huge machines. And that's kind of the moral of the story is for all the human technology and everything. It was nature that actually took out the aliens. And, if you have an alien race that is overconfident because they've taken over other planets and they come to Earth because, as they said, they put these ships down a long time ago, but the Earth had changed. Let's not, for whatever they put the spaceships in the ground before the pilots were sent to lift them up and actually wreak havoc on Earth in the 2005 War of the Worlds. When they first put those ships down, the Earth was completely different. So they're coming back to an Earth that they're not actually familiar with. I mean, we do have the narration of Morgan Freeman going, oh, they've watched or whatnot. And I'm like, I don't think they were watching so much as they put the ships there to come back later, to invade. And they're like, oh, the humans here, they didn't care, not thinking of bacteria because they were looking at the big threat versus the small threat. So I've always liked that theory of it because that's holding true to the original movie. And I don't think it presents the plot hole so much. I think for me, and I rewatched it just today. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I rewatched it today and I realized what what element in this film bugs me the most. And it's the family element. And maybe it's because I'm a parent, but these kids these two kids. Now, this was done in 2005. So his daughter, it's almost implied she's on the spectrum.
Oh, with the whole "this is your space" thing.
With the how she behaves and her behavior patterns and everything, but that wasn't yet really in the zeitgeist and the discussion of kids and diagnosing them yet. And even in 2005, it wasn't a big thing. But what her behavior in here, I was like, okay, she's either being just a very bratty kid throughout, and even at her age, she should be aware of some, or maybe they're implying that she has, maybe some other, conditions or things that helps her deal with this because she can't cope. And the teenage son was the most stereotypical teenage son known, and I think that the kids are what bugged me the most in this film, that element. I know why they included that in here, But like you said as well, Tom Cruise looking as young as he did does not look like he had his son. His son looked as old as he was. Almost as old. He was taller, and the height, not a thing. It's just well, and their chemistry between them. I wasn't buying what they were selling with his dad character because Tom Cruise did not perform it the way he probably should have.
Yeah, he seemed too much like a movie star.
It was too nonchalant. It really, even when he was trying to be dad like, he didn't have the dad voice at all, for one. I'm going to tell you that right now.
He does not have dad vibes.
He just did not have the dad vibes in general. If it was like uncle, then maybe I could see.
Or stepdad. Also, he didn't have the dock worker man with sort of a life that's falling apart vibe, right? I mean, he seemed like a guy who's going out to audition to try to get some acting gigs, and he somehow has this family.
He was too slick, is what he was.
Yeah. Too aware of performing.
I think. Well, here's the thing. I think his performance was okay. I bought his emotions. But the problem is, it's Tom Cruise. This is Ethan Hunt. Yeah, like I don't think he's not a character actor; he's a performance actor.
But in Edge of Tomorrow, he disappeared into that role.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, or look at Born on the 4th of July. Where that role works for Tom Cruise because if you think about the role, it's an all-American guy. He's very arrogant. He thinks he's on top of the world, and then it all comes crashing down on him once he gets crippled. It's like that's where Tom Cruise's own persona works for that character.
One of my favorite roles of Tom Cruise is in Magnolia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He loses himself. He's not Tom Cruise. He's this. I mean, you see him, and it's like, wow, that's where he's scary. And that Cruise there in Magnolia, when he gets scary, when he's having that conversation with the female reporter, and he's just so dark. And I love Magnolia, by the way.
What the fuck is your question? Yeah,
I think it's a underrated multi-thread story, entourage film, but
I might like it better than Boogie Nights, honestly.
Yeah, in that one scene where he's talking to her, he is so scary, and I'm like, wow, I did not expect that from Cruise. We needed that darkness to come through in the scene where he takes out our crazy Tim Robbins character, but you don't feel that. I felt, and that's the thing is with Cruise, I know he's emoting, I know he's showing emotion. I'm not feeling that emotion with any of this. His disciplining the kids felt so empty. I'm like, no wonder your kids are acting.
Also, there are situations where people who are not good at regular life, then an emergency happens, like an invasion, and then all their unused potential comes to the front. And this could have been one of those roles for Tom Cruise where his character is not doing well in normal life, but this out of the world crazy invasion, end of the world, then he starts to kick in all the stuff all the skills he wasn't able to use in regular life. That could have worked really well.
Yeah. Well, again, Tom Cruise is too much of a star machine. He's too good looking. And especially like when you see his boss in the film, who's like, he looks the way you would think the Tom Cruise role would look, like that's kind of like something that throws you off a bit. But it's like, I think if he showed that kind of like intimidation and darkness, like he did in the Magnolia scene, where basically the reporters exposing his life that he's trying to keep secret from everyone. I think if he showed that sign to his daughter when he was about to kill Tim Robbins, spoilers, by the way. I think he would be too much of a sociopath then in that scene. I think that scene works because maybe Tom Cruise is a little bit like a sociopath.
But I mean, he I'm not saying he has to go to that extreme.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's one of his better acted scenes in this entire film is when he has his daughter, cover her eyes and or cover her ears and close her eyes and that, and what he's going to do. That scene, it does work. I wanted a little bit more, but I mean, out of all the scenes, that's probably one of his better scenes. But his interaction with the kids, I really didn't feel it. And they needed a beat in here. Again, I don't need my handheld, but they needed a beat in here on exactly why the couple didn't work, because it almost felt like the daughter, even after they went through everything, the daughter still went to mommy versus dad. And, the son went to dad. I'm like, so wait, I'm like, is the daughter actually his, or is this, I'm like sitting here going, because through this whole thing, she is definitely, I mean, she runs to him when she's scared, but even then it's like, really? And I know we haven't talked about the aliens and that, but Spielberg puts his own spin on it. He makes it more of a horror film. I always still look at Spielberg saying, he's a genre director at heart. In all honesty, he makes horror movies or thrillers a lot more than he does his drama. I mean, he can do drama. He's Spielberg. He can do, but if you look at the majority, he seems to be having the most fun when he's making thriller and horror films, because Jurassic Park could be taken as a horror film.
Oh my God. When I saw it as a kid, I was like this the whole time because I was scared of the sound. Because from the theater across from, I don't know what movie was playing the same week. So guys, look that up in the comment section. Please tell me. But like, I was in the theater and all I could hear was boom, boom. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it was Jurassic Park. Yeah. And then the whole time my ears were, because when that T-Rex shows up in the rainstorm in the middle of the night, and then he like gets through like the windshield, like that is scary. Like Spielberg knows horror. He did Jaws, did Jurassic Park. Schindler's List is certainly horrifying about what humanity's really like. Munich has horrifying scenes, and he did direct Poltergeist while Toby Hooper was shooting up heroin. So, little known fact, but you could tell from that movie exactly from its framing to its lighting. That's Spielberg.
You guys remember the crop dusting pilot from Independence Day?
Yeah.
That father with the various problems and the problematic family. I think that's the kind of character that we need to see in the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could even say he was a fighter pilot who flunked out, right? I mean, hey, tie it into Tom Cruise mythology. Like maybe he comes from a family of pilots or military people. This is the bad one. He flunked out. Now he's, moving crates at a Brooklyn shipyard, and then this crazy thing happens. Then his fighting skills come in, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's this film.
He looks too much like a winner in the beginning for that role.
Yeah, exactly. He looks. You're absolutely right. Independence Day, always still a surprise film for me. Had that wonderful dynamic with Randy Quaid and his two kids there. And you had just little brief scenes, but that I bought into more so than this dynamic. And the thing is, you could tell the film's hanging its hat on this dynamic between, the father, between Ray, his kid, and his his son. It's hanging its heart on that relationship, and you don't feel that relationship. And I think at its core, everything else in this film, it's hitting on those Spielberg cylinders, but for some reason, the way either it's acted or written or both, you just don't feel that. One, because the kids are like every kid trope known to man thrown into one character, and two, you're just not feeling that connection at all between these characters. And I understand dysfunctional family is a common trope, and especially in 2005 and in a dynamic like this, but you need at least a little bit of a thread like they still underlying actually care about one another, but you don't really feel that at any point that the son and the daughter have any real emotional connection to dad. He's helping them, but you're not really feeling that underlying connection going, yeah, we truly down deep love dad. They really dislike this guy.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting point you make because, like, outside of keeping his kids alive, which he doesn't even keep Robbie alive, they have that whole scene where, okay, and this is a plot hole that I had with the movie, and maybe it's just me. How far away is Dakota Fanning with the other family who thinks that their parents have abandoned them to where Robbie is up on the hill? Because couldn't he just turned around and yelled his daughter's name really loud and said, "That's my daughter," then turned to Robbie, grabbed him, and be like, "Get the fuck out of there. You're not going to get in the middle of the war zone." Like, I don't know how that, like, that scene didn't make much sense.
Hey, Mike, an alien invasion's going on, man. There's no time for that.
Yeah. Hey, one kid's got to go, right? But I mean, yeah, but he doesn't do anything as a father in turn, like, and outside of like physically keeping them safe, he doesn't do anything emotionally to win them over. And I think that's where the problem with the dynamic is.
Like a stepfather or something.
Yeah.
There's never a touching moment. You don't get that beat where he just is, it's just him and his kids, and you don't have a threat. Even when he's trying to make them dinner, the kids are just being shits to him when he's trying to make dinner at their mom's house there in town. And you don't even get any real dialogue between them. And again, I think that's what the problem is. If it was just him by himself, say it was him by himself trying to get to Boston to his kids, who are with his wife, but he wants to get to Boston to be with his kids. If it was just him, this film still would work.
That would be actually a way more fascinating movie.
Or if he gets saddled with the neighbor's kids and he has to protect them and take them.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I mean the imagery in the movie, like this movie has some incredible imagery. And I'm gonna show a difference between the imagery in this film when they introduce the tripod compared to the Ice Cube film, because you might learn a thing or two about timing, even though I butchered this clip, so the copyright police don't get me. Although they still might, but who knows? But yeah, check out this little 36-second difference.
Feel that? Yeah, I feel that. What is it, the subway? There's no subway in here.
A little difference in timing. But you see, the thing that this movie does is so brilliant is that there's a build up to it. Like when the alien is inside the concrete, you just hear it rumbling. There's thunderstorms happening beforehand where lightning's striking twice. You don't know what's going on. And then, like, one of the scariest images I think of that film is when the concrete is absorbed like it's water and just swallowed. It's like, wow, our infrastructure has no chance against these things at all. We are completely helpless. And then, of course, once it releases the horn, which is like one of the most satisfying sounds I've ever heard, like compared to, I mean, satisfying in terms of horror, like, because you hear that immediately, you're like, I'm dead. And yeah, and then you compare that to the build up to the tripods and the remake where it's just a still screen with like a generic horn sound. You can really see how Spielberg is a master of the frame and the sound and all the technical departments, and most of the time the emotional departments. Although this one didn't work as well, but I mean that introduction to the tripods was unforgettable in that movie.
One issue I have is, underneath New York City, there's like another city, right? I mean, old layers, right. Subway, whatever else. So Martians would have had to bury these things way underground, you know.
Yeah.
in order for them to come up now in modern New York. It can't be like 10 feet below. It has to be like 50, 100 feet below or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It might have been, and it just might have been coming up for a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
One
it could have- it's maybe it does have a shield, so
Yeah.
maybe the shield helps with it. Whatever.
And the way they come in is through lightning, like they come in little capsules, go like right in there. Yeah.
Right. There's
And-
aliens in the lightning.
Yeah.
And this is in any of these Spielberg thrillers or horror films. I'll call them horror film, but many people call them thrillers, including this one. Spielberg shows how he is a student of Alfred Hitchcock, because the one thing he does do well, while I don't really get connected with the dynamic, I do love those moments like you show in the clip when he does the reveal. He doesn't rush the alien reveal at all of the ship. It takes its time. First you get the rumbling and everybody's like, what is that? Then you get a crack that runs all the way to a building. You're like, what is that? And then there's a beat. And then that whole thing shifts and it slowly rises. And then it just stands there and doesn't do anything. You're like,
Yeah.
And then it lets out the sound.
Yeah.
And then it starts shooting the laser and someone evaporates. And then you're like, oh shit. But that whole sequence gives you a beat to process what's going on and just build up a little bit to where if it was just bang, 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 you're like, oh, but it builds up to where this is a threat and these guys are no in rush to wipe out the human race, you know?
Yeah. I'm sorry. No, you're on a roll, baby. Keep going.
it's just like when later on when they find out that they're making, which is still one of the creepiest things, I think, and one of the great original, and I think it's from the book, and they didn't have it in the 60s film, but where he's spraying human blood as fertilizer to grow these roots you assume to be their food. There's a wonderful sequence in here, and I say wonderful as in scary. This shows Spielberg's art to where the tentacle comes down, grabs a guy, pulls him behind a wagon, and you don't actually see what's going on, but then you see another tentacle down, shoot out a needle, stab it, and then suddenly you see, and then you just piece it together like, oh, wow, you know.
Yeah. They're creating their infrastructure through our blood.
Yeah, it's terraforming the planet.
Right.
It's
Is that what
pretty
you
good.
meant? Our blood? Or all right, no, sorry. Now I'm just thinking of the ending again.
It's good light horror. I like it.
Yeah, well, he meant to make a kids horror film. He says it when he was making it, but because like they could have evaporated and it could have been like gory and blood everywhere, but it's like that's not what was scary, because when 9/11 happened, we didn't see blood everywhere. We just saw debris and dust. And I thought one of the scariest images of this movie, and again, if there was no score, it would have been even more frightening, is when Dakota Fanning, I'm trying not to say Johnson, goes out to the bathroom, and then all the bodies start coming across the water, and it's just like, okay, I've never seen
a lot of interesting horror images and horror images.
Yeah. So it's like it's very much like it feels like a real alien invasion in this movie. Like it feels like the most tangible one I've seen compared to other alien invasion films. Because like the only other things I can go off of reference is like The Day the Earth Stood Still and Independence Day. Which
and I thought this movie, Spielberg's 2005 War of the Worlds, compared to the packed full of stuff badly done of the 2025 version. The Spielberg version even seems more like an art film. It's like a road trip happening.
Yeah.
With the family while this alien invasion action is happening. They could have cut it, just focused on the alien invasion and much faster, like a action horror movie. But they did something else with it. It's more like almost like an art house movie.
Yeah, because it's actually still about the characters and the relationships. As simplified as it is in the movie, it still works. I always thought, until I saw it recently, I thought when Tim Robbins comes into the movie, the film kind of dipped in quality a lot, because it felt like they ran out of budget. It's like they had all these big budget scenes, and then they're like, okay, well, now we're stuck in this basement. Let's get Tim Robbins. and he's just going to do the same voice that he did from his character from Mystic River that he won an Oscar for, which always threw me off. I'm like, why is he doing Mystic River? And
I guess it was an attempt to show how some people respond in crazy ways to emergency situations.
well, he lost his family, lost everything. Yeah. Lost his mind. Yeah.
It's supposed to show the human horror. It's handled in a different way, and it also just sets up that scene to show that, you know, Ray would go to any length to protect his kid, and you know, at the end there, with what he has to do with him, and again, that whole sequence is probably the best, even in the direction of it, of just how everything goes when Tim Robbins' character just really goes off the rails and he realizes this guy's a risk after they see the blood root. They just cut to him giving his daughter, tying a blindfold over his daughter and just putting, you know, cover your ears, daddy's got to do something. And there's a wonderful thing. And this is a very young Dakota Fanning, but it's also the one point where I actually like her acting in here, because I thought she was, and it's not her fault, just the part written as annoying daughter. But it's the one part where you're like, oh, she knows what daddy's going to do. You know, because Dakota, the way she acts in that scene too, the way that whole sequence is, that's Spielberg doing what some other directors would not be able to do, is just bring weight to a scene by not showing too much, but you know what he's going to do. And you could tell by the way she's acting, she knows what daddy's going to do.
It's all about the sound design, because you just hear like a couple grunts. And then this is the one part where Williams' music, I would say, actually works, because it builds up a bit and then it stops. And then you just see it resting on the staircase. And, you know, she puts her arm around him, all that. But yeah, like when I saw it recently, that's when I actually kind of appreciated like those 20 minutes spent in the basement. Because I thought, yeah, like what happens when there's nowhere to run? You have to hide. It's even worse when you're hiding almost, because now you don't know if you're going to be stuck with a psycho or if you're just going to die in this, you know, disgusting basement. Or even if you had a nice house, that basement eventually would get gross. Because what are you going to do? Go up and get the mop? They'll get your blood. You're fucked. So that's what kind of made it dynamic. So then when they get out of the basement, you're like, oh, there's this relief. Finally, oh no, all of Earth is covered in red vines, and now we're turning into their infrastructure. And I think now, if you look at it, when I was thinking about their blood, that's probably what killed them. And that kind of makes sense in terms of the plot. They didn't think about our DNA. Like they thought about the microbes and the problems that's in our soil and our water, but our DNA, they didn't anticipate, which you would think if they were that advanced, they would know that. But yeah, smart people make dumb mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, in the real world, like I mentioned earlier, there's been plenty of horrible wars launched. I mean, horrible mistakes made by otherwise smart and capable militaries.
Yeah.
And again, arrogance, and I think it just was overlooked. They thought they would have been fine probably from it, you know. But in the end, yeah, I mean, even not great Spielberg is decent Spielberg.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a decent film. Even if it's not one of Spielberg's better films, there's a lot to really enjoy in War of the Worlds 2005. You know?
It's a very good mainstream American movie.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good point for us to give our stars for War of the Worlds 2005 and wrap it up. There's more I'd like to say about the movie, but we won't keep everyone forever here. So, Sajiwa, out of 4 Guinnesses, what would you give WoW 2025?
I'd give it 3 for the kind of movie it is.
Yeah. I'm actually on the same exact boat. My rating would be 3 stars for WoW 2025. Now I'm just calling it WoW. Like
you mean 2005?
2005. No, 2025 gets 4. No, I'm kidding. 2005 gets 3.
Yeah, and it's a million times better than the 2025 version.
Yeah,
depending on and
I would say. I would say 3 as well. It's a good popcorn film. It's not Spielberg's best, but again, as I said before, even Spielberg not at his best is still a decent watch. And I'd watch this again right now versus watching the 2025 version again.
Hey,
Because
that's the kind of awesome summer movies we used to have. Now
Yes.
we've got not so great summer movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and it's funny because he kind of did a Jurassic Park that year, where the year he did Jurassic Park, he did the big blockbuster Jurassic Park, and then he did Schindler's List the same year. That year he did War of the Worlds, and then he did Munich.
Awesome.
And both movies are kind of a reflection of what it was like to live in a world post 9/11. So
Right.
it was very zeitgeisty for the time. Obviously, Munich was a much more. I mean, Munich's like Spielberg's. As Sujiwa and I were texting about it last night. That's his most nuanced film that he's made.
Yeah, that's a very good movie, and I mean, serious grown up beyond summer blockbusters. Questions the the unending power of the state to kill people. Yeah, I'm really almost like it's not even a Spielberg movie. It's some
Right.
kind of a extremely well done art house movie.
It's almost like a movie he wants to make, but is afraid to make in a way. He kind of goes for
Well,
simplicity.
it's you got to balance it between what movie you're going to make that you want to make and what movie you want to make money, so you can make more. So you can make more movies. That Tim Burton approach. He takes the big licensed films because that way he could do the smaller films.
Munich was kind of reminded me of almost like a Terrence Malick type movie, right? Really getting into the serious question of killing for your government.
Yeah, I will say Spielberg is like bad. Spielberg is still a good movie.
Yeah,
unless it's Ready Player One. That oh my god, that was bad. But I don't know. Maybe I'll see it again. I don't know. But
it looked too crazy. I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna watch that.
Well, there's just so many. It's just references and not a real story. But let's plug everyone's stuff because I know Mark has a podcast. I think at 8:30, so we don't want to keep everyone. So Sajiwa, what would you like to plug before we take off?
53 Spaceships, a sci-fi movie coming out end of September. I think I'm going to start doing screenings. So look out for that, everyone.
All right. Mark, what do you got going on? I think you got something real soon going on.
I always got stuff going on. SpecialMarkProductions.com. All your movie man needs. I've got a few reviews that I've dropped recently of new indie films. I've got a couple more coming up that the embargo is being lifted on. This week, I'll be dropping a review of Brute 1976, as well as another one, which escapes me at the moment, but another one. Oh, We're Not Safe Here, which I'll also be interviewing the director, which will be dropping this week for a film that's called We're Not Safe Here, which I thought was very interesting, supernatural horror. And we got the podcasts, we got the TikToks, we got, I can't stay in one lane too long to make things because I got to just create. And so I create a lot of things. So, but if you go to the website, specialmarkproductions.com, there's links to everything.
And donate a lot of money to Mark's Patreon. One of the hardest working film critics in the Midwest.
He's crazy, man. Like every time I talk to him, I'm like, oh man, I got 4 movies this week. I'm busy. He's like, Mark's like, yeah, I'm doing 20 movies this week. I'm interviewing like 100 directors. So I'll see how I So he does a lot, man. But if you like my stuff, go to ypareviews.com. That has like all my stuff that I post on YouTube and stuff like that. Although some of the shorter reviews, if you're like, hey, I just want to see like 1-minute reviews or 5-minute reactions to films, well, you can go to YouTube right here at YPA Reviews or on TikTok at YPA Reviews Chicago. There's some great stuff up there. There's actually a real funny, I guess you could call it an interview with Michael Rooker. I don't know. It was totally unhinged and crazy and weird and fun. But go check it out. And for everything else, guys, the YPA stands for You'll Probably Agree. The YPA, I should say, stands for You'll Probably Agree. So you guys enjoy yourselves. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And watch out for aliens. And we will, see
watch
you
out
next
for Will
time.
Radford, Spy.
Yeah.